Hi everyone, welcome back to Spirit Lounge. Hope you guys are doing really well. Apologies for the long delay in getting to the next videos up, but there's 3 coming today, so actually 4, including this one. So, and to go through and finish the introductory chapters that we're going through, and then after today we'll be going straight into the Upanisads themselves, which is, yay, finally. Okay, so let's just jump straight into this next part of the introduction. Okay, it's karma and rebirth. Some of you will recognize. I'm not sure why that's not on the full screen there. I'm just going to make some changes to that because it's not quite transitioning. Okay, let's do that. That'll be fine. Okay, so this is karma and rebirth, and it's a very, very short part of the introduction, which I shortened it quite a bit. And again, obviously, the Vedas are a large body of work compiled by many different sages and seers and individuals who isolated themselves in forests and so forth, meditative practice, and pulled in what was called the 5th Upanisads, which is the more spiritual and esoteric part of the 5. The main 4 are the Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva Veda. Okay. I'm going to go have a different last video on the introductory chapters, going through some of the Sanskrit summary, but you'll see many of these texts, many of these in there, so we're going to go through some of these and some others in a later chapter just before we jump into. So I'm going to do it in a separate video so that you guys can refer to it later or take screenshots if you needed to, because some of the terms will come through over and over again as we go through this text. Okay, karma and rebirth. Until we negate the ego and get fixed in the divine ground, we are bound to the endless procession of events called samsara. Samsara is the endless events of reincarnation. The principle which governs karma moral and spiritual laws. The principles which govern karma are the moral and spiritual laws, as well as physical. If we neglect health, we injure ourselves. If we neglect morality, we wreck our higher life. Effectively saying that unless we start our ascent towards a more divine position, we're going to be grounding ourselves and attaching ourselves to the material. Excuse me, I just sneezed there. The law of karma is not external to the individual. The judge is within. So the karma is not an external force onto us. It's saying that karma is actually something we impose on ourselves, and that's something that we've discussed many times. We are responsible and accountable for our own actions, words, thoughts, and intentions, and therefore will be our judge in life, and we will be our own judge beyond this physical matter and the bodysuit that we're in. The judgment that comes after life is actually ourselves to ourselves, and it's done through the spirit, through the divine essence of our spirit, for which we are in pure form when not in body, onto which we look upon ourselves of what we've been when in body. So our judgment is our own to ourselves, unto ourselves. The judge is within. God is law as well as love. Love through law and the workings of karma is wholly dispassionate. We cannot escape it. What that means is that karma doesn't care about our ideologies, our philosophies, our mindsets, our belief systems, our positions in life, what we think is good and what we think is bad. We will create karma universally through universal law, depending on what we do. It's dispassionate because it doesn't care what we think. It doesn't have any leaning, it doesn't have any allegiance, it doesn't have any imbalance in it. It is purely a divine force and universal to all within the all. We cannot escape it, which is true. There are those out there in the world, and I've mentioned this many times in videos, who think that if they push out an agenda of a negative intention, and people ignore it and they allow them to do something, that the karma for that intention, or the karma for that for the event, or the ideology imposed upon humanity, and then humans allowing it and then therefore suffering that, The karma is then passed on to them. This is absolute and utter misguided nonsense. Karma is actually not just the act or the decision and the accountable responsibility, but it's based upon intention. Our intention to do something as well, more than the act itself. So the act has karma, the word has karma, the action, the word, thought, and intention has karma. The intention is what matters. So those who intend something through an event or an ideology or an agenda, be that individually, as a group, collectively, or nationally, or globally, hold the karma for everything that affects. The collective karma is much, much, much greater than that which of the individual who is affected by it through an act of ignorance of that intention. So this is karma can never be escaped. It's a misguided belief, and I would avoid such things. Man is what he has made himself. Absolutely. He may make himself what he will. This is again responsibility and accountability. Even the soul in the lowest condition need not abandon all hope. When it says lowest condition, is this talking about the lowest depth of ignorance? This is referring to those who have completely omitted and moved themselves away from the frequency of the divine, not in terms of physical form, as in a worm or a bird or any animal or plant life or subatomic life. It's not referring to that. It's talking about the lowest condition being the vibration either towards grace or away from grace. And as we know, in this world there are many who are diametrically opposite to love. The 180 degrees swivel away from love into the lack of empathy and the lack of love, which is what we call evil. Okay, other existences by which we can grow into knowledge of the infinite spirit. So it's talking about there are many routes to grow into knowledge and towards the infinite spirit. A Hindu believes in a succession of lives. A Christian believes men that once they die, after that there is judgment. Okay, Valkya, which is a Vedic sage, says, in truth, a man becomes I don't know what that word, good by good, works of evil, or good by good and works of evil by evil works. So we become good by doing good, and we become evil by doing evil. That's supposed to say good. I apologize for that. The future of the soul is not finally determined by what it has felt, thought and done in this one earthly life. It's true. It's multiple incarnations. We are more than this single lifetime. We are a culmination, a combination of all of our incarnational lives in any form, in any part of this universe, on any earthly or non-earthly plane. The soul has chances of acquiring merit and advancing to life eternal until the union with the timeless reality is attained. Non-being is only an abstract low limit of the existential order. Non-being means that which is detached for itself from the divine all. Absolute evil is also such a lower limit. It's opposed to being. So absolute evil is the total opposite of being in terms of absolute non-being, and it's the opposite of being, which is that which is attached itself to grace. Non-being is non-existent, i.e. not reality. So what it's basically saying, we can be being or non-being in material matter in our physical life experience, but in actual fact, the only reality that exists is actually being, which is the divine spirit and attachment to grace, which is what we are when we're not in these bodies experiencing a material life. So therefore, it is not a real reality. The reality is not the one we experience in matter. It's the one that we are when not in matter. Okay. The Upanishads gives us detailed descriptions of the manner in which a man dies and is born again. So it talks much about reincarnative cycles and rebirth. So we'll get into that when we move into the Upanishads themselves. Born again in the self, after reaching the end of this body, finds another place to support and draws itself towards it. So it's what it's talking about. The infinite spirit finds itself another form in which to support the life in which it is still drawn towards. This is talking about moksha. This is talking about the release from rebirth, which is also discussed within the Nag Hammadi text as well as autogenes. This is the release from the cycle of rebirth, or in other words, the release from the realm of matter through spiritual ascent. Otherwise, what happens here? We draw ourselves back towards it and find ourselves another place to support the attachment to which we have still retained. The soul finds out its future body before it leaves the present one. I'm not so sure about that, but you can discern that statement. This is a Hindu belief. I think this is where the dogma comes in. Each state of existence of the soul is conditioned by its knowledge, vidya, conduct, karma. So this is true. What it's saying is that our soul, it's not conditioned. As I mentioned in previous videos about incarnation, if you look into my back catalogue, in my early videos back from 2020, you'll see, or late 2019, there's a video on reincarnation. Our soul isn't conditioned. Our soul is the spirit. It's infinite. It's divine. It's the all. What we have is an energetic garment which is held in the Akasha. This is what is conditioned by our knowledge or ignorance, our karmic souls and intention, action, words and thoughts, our spiritual ascent or not, our being and not being. It's our garment. The garment is a spiritual garment. It's a garment of ascent, a garment of knowing. This garment can be one of ignorance, or it can be a garment that is moving towards knowledge and ascent. This is the one that we will pass through and clothe ourselves with when we enter the material plane. And this cycle occurs over and over again until that garment that is attached to us within the Akasha, within this universe itself, becomes more ascended to the point where material life no longer is purposeful within the universe for our infinite spiritual existence. So therefore we release that garment because the garment has now become light of light. This is what we hold. The soul is never conditioned. It is the energetic garment within the universe in which we pass through. This is our garment. This is the one that we need to bring back to grace, because the garment, because we're still here, is one that is attached and has the vibration and frequency of that which is in the material realm. That is in reality, for me, what occurs and is the understanding and knowing that I have come to discern. The ignorant go after death to sunless demonic regions. In other words, they hold the vibration, not necessarily go to these places. We are the same. We are same reality, but vibrationally different. So what this is basically saying is that we don't go to demonic regions. The ignorant are those in here is not stupid people. This is just talking about those who have decided to relinquish the connection or the existence of grace or the Godhead. And the very opposing aspect of that is what we call darker demonic satanic energy, where they worship demigods, false gods, and conjure entities or worship entities within the astral realm that exists only within this universe, but we can manifest and worship and create form in there. This is what we call demonic regions. This vibration of demonic regions is a frequency. And if you remember, we're gonna have a slide in another video shortly, which is going to go through the lokas, and it shows you the regions. These are vibrations. We can either vibrate very, very psychopathic, sociopathic, demonic, satanic, what we call evil tendencies and vibrations, therefore influencing our actions, words, thoughts, and intentions, or we can have that of light. So when it says demonic regions, it says we can drop down to these very, very base, very, very abstracted and what we call evil vibrational frequency. That's some people in our world in which we share have attracted themselves and dropped to. The Chandogya Upanishad says two ways open to mortals. There is the bright and the dark. There's the way of the gods and the fathers, which are the way of the gods and the fathers. Beautiful characters attain covetable births, and ugly ones miserable births. Not quite. This is talking about imposed karmic birth, imposed karmic life. I believe I feel, and I know from my own inner self, that not only is this vibrational garment in the Akasha our own responsibility to cleanse, but we cleanse that through designing and architecting the lives in incarnations for ourselves in which we enter this world, to help us cleanse our garment in the Akasha and raise in our ascent and vibrationally towards grace. This is not imposed upon us by some omnipotent divine grace, although there is an all. We have free will here, we have free will above and below, as above so below. It is our choice and our accountability. We discern, we choose our parents, we choose our families, we choose where we're going to be born, we choose the colour of our skin, the language we speak, the culture we're going to be born in, the poverty or riches we are going to be born in, or everything in between. And that's for us to develop further. So it's not something, we don't have good lives because we've been good, and we don't have miserable lives because we've been bad. But those lives of pain or misery could be just a vibrational, because that's where that's the vibration in which we're attracting through the garment in which we've created through multiple births before. Therefore, we challenge ourselves in these incarnations to move away from that which we repeated patterns of tendency and action, words and thoughts of previous lives, to break those patterns, to therefore raise our vibration. If when your vibration is rising, future lives will match that vibration, because you'll not need to suffer anything less. You need to experience anything less. So it's really up to us to raise our vibration, to therefore have more productive spiritually vibrational frequency of lifetimes in the future. Rebirth is the lot of man until he obtains true knowledge. By virtual acts he furthers his evolution. Knowledge of reality leads to salvation. Salvation is just the realization of grace. Not someone saving us. It's us revealing grace to ourselves. Therefore, redemption is the same thing, redeeming ourselves by returning to grace and releasing ourselves from matter itself. The soul is said to be a very minute entity residing in the cavity of the heart. I would say it is in the cavity of the heart. We have our spiritual force near our heart space. So on the right is the Trinity, I would call it, the spirit, and the left, the heart, and the mind is the third Trinity, which processes, and the shaft going through, which is what the cross is for me, is the body in which we experience life itself. Okay, that's the end of Karma and Rebirth. It was very, very short. Again, Second Coming is you. Be sure to conduct this as a life purpose, as a life change, not something temporary, intermittent, when we wish to have something. And it needs to be transformative. It's only transformative. If you want transformation spiritually to be coming to you, you need to be becoming that which you are practicing. And having that influence your actions, words, thoughts and intentions, and balancing your desires, which will actually become less and less false as you move up into your vibrational ascent towards that which you seek. Okay, and again, any questions or asks or anything you want to look into, the spiritlounge333@gmail.com, and that's the book that I have on Amazon in paperback or ebook if you wish to purchase it. Okay, so I want to say thank you very much for listening to this. I'll just put myself back on there. There will be another video shortly after this, another 2, and then a summary of the Sanskrit text and the some of the terms and principles of the Upanishads. So we'll go through those on a separate video. I want to do it separately so that you guys have it separately to refer to. As we go through the Upanishads, we'll be referring to those many times. So I'll say thank you so much for listening, and God bless to you all until next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.